I know I'm a woman. I've always been a woman, but I never felt oppressed as a woman until I went to college and they told me that I was.
Right.
So then suddenly now I can add woman to my intersectional bucket, but it's not really something that they're like, I'm your first female guest. That's great for me.
Scorpions, yeah.
Which is lovely for me. But it's funny because again, and now, getting to NYU and I have all my friends who are, going to the Women's March talking about female oppression in America. Right. Meanwhile, I start talking to them about the way I grew up and they're like, dude, like your community was oppressive. I'm like, what? She's like, your community, like you're telling me most of your friends didn't pursue college educations? I'm like, no, like they got married and they're like, that's oppressive. I was like, what is it? And I started looking at my community in a different lens. I had to take like a huge step back and be like, whoa.
It gave you pause when that happened.
It gave me pause in both ways because in one way I got so deep into the Syrian Jewish community is so oppressive towards women when I was told it was. And then at one point I had to take a step back and say, that's not it. That's also not it, right? Like there's a truth somewhere in the middle. It's not a community that necessarily like supports women in all their endeavors, but I also wouldn't say I was oppressed. I think it was just like opportunities weren't really presented to me because no one expected me to want them. Right? Like if you told half my friends from Deal, New Jersey, hey, after high school, you're going to go to college and then you're going to get a job and work for money. They'd be like, why are you punishing me? I don't want to do this. Half of them didn't want to go to college, right? So that's a conversation that's really left out of feminist spaces.
Right. And just to dispel the myth, it's between Ashkenazi Jews and the Syrian community that you're talking about, it's different. Even in our community, like women are expected to pursue careers, and whether even though there's a pressure to be homemakers at some point, that is part of the culture. There's certainly more of an emphasis on higher education and those things. So it's just
the Syrian community is changing. We have evolved. That's a wonderful thing. The Syrian community, where women usually would just get married right after high school and have kids, even though that still happens a lot. Even women who get married right after high school want to have careers, and it doesn't have to necessarily be in education, right? Like they don't have to pursue a higher education to have a solid career. A lot of them start businesses from their own homes. I have so many friends that are now running like successful clothing lines, jewelry, baking.
Influencers.
No, I don't know any Syrian Jewish influencers yet.
You do not?
No, we got to get one of those. It's on my list.
I'm sure there's one.
I'm sure we've
in
got
diamonds
them.
or something.
Yeah.
Someone from Aleppo and someone from Damascus. They started a little channel together.
Hey, that's a podcast.
I know nothing about Syrian Jews.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Crazy?
Yeah, like literally
nothing. I mean, you know what it is actually? Sephardic Jews, it's like Sephardic Jews and of all stripes and like Syrian Jews, isn't it?
Well, I mean, within Sephardic, you have this big umbrella, but like all of our communities are self-defined. That's the thing. Like Sephardim, like we'll identify with each other because, no offense, we're just not like you guys, which is one thing, but
what do you mean?
Just saying. But a Moroccan Jew is very different from a Syrian Jew, very different from a Persian Jew. Like when I just said those three things,
I picture a bouncer who's ripped, like really buff,
for which
stocky,
one?
Moroccan.
For Moroccan,
with a mustache.
Yeah, that's what I picture for Moroccan too. For Persian, I picture someone in dental school for some reason. I feel like
eyes, optometry.
Eyes, optometry. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And they also love to be plastic surgeons. How many do you know? That's great. Great for Persians. Good for them, right? But you're
going to fix that and that and that and this and that. I also lived in LA for 10 years, so that's how I got to know Persians. And within Persian, Mashhadi, right?
Mashhadi and Tarani.
Mashhadi and Tarani.
That's the whole thing.
It is and that. You don't know this, Michael.
You
don't know any of this.
Well, I mean, it's for like Ashkenazim, right? Like if I talk about like Russian Jews, you're going to be like, oh, those are Soviet. They're not exactly Ashkenazi, but they are Ashkenazi, right? And then like you have like depending on what wave you came on in immigration, you're different. So
Yekis.
Yeah.
But we're all white.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not me though. I'm
not
apparently not.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But there is that kind of like bias there where like I assume I'm like, why are you guys so particular about which part of the Middle East you came from?
Right.
Like, there's probably something racist in there in some capacity.
There is. I think
the same way you're probably like, who cares what part of Europe you're from? Like you're all kind of like pale.
You're all kind of milquetoast.
Yeah. Well, you guys have been here longer.
My family's been here,
Persian, I picture. I'm going to say this. There's a guy, a couple I know, and I was at a meal with them, and she's married to a Syrian guy. She's like, I don't like. Tell me what you think of this statement. She said it. I'm quoting. Okay. She goes, I don't get it. I'm like, I cannot live in Deal. I told them when we got married, I'm not living here. All these guys think they're so hot. They're all so ugly. And they're also unattractive. He's like, I know I'm unattractive. I got a beautiful Ashkenazi girl. I know I'm not good looking. I know it. Yeah. And he's hilarious. And I was like, oh, interesting. And I picture like the slick back hair, club like shirt, silk shirt. Yo, bro, you're crazy, bro.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. I know like 7 of those.
Okay.
Right. Minimum. Those just the ones that come to mind.
Yeah, I just asked a friend of ours. His wife is from Brooklyn and she's Syrian, and he said like going back there for Shabbos is tough. And I'm like, what do these people respect? Like when you walk into a room and you're not Syrian, what would you have to be for them to gain their respect? And he said there's pretty much nothing you can do besides being from Syria.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter what job you have, how much money you make, like
or descendant directly.
Yeah. That's what I mean. He's like basically you're either in the club or there's nothing you can do to get in. Whereas like in like an Ashkenazi shul, like I would think like if you have a ton of money. Like honestly, like people be interested in you,
right?
You know, like no matter where you're from, like there's that like openness.
He does well.
There's openness to rich people, no matter what Ashkenazi.
He does well. But you're saying as Sephardim, it's like they don't care.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
You bring home an Ashki guy, is that like a big issue?
In my family. No, but in most Syrian families, yeah. It's like I've actually like I've gone on dates with Ashkenazi guys, and they're like, "Is this okay?" And I'm like, "Don't worry, my family is very liberal.
Right?
Like they're very liberal in this. Like
That's liberal.
I can't study more than 2 hours away from my home, and I have to be home every single Shabbat.
Right.
But like mad liberal.
Do you really have to go home every single Shabbat?
I mean, there's no such thing as have to anymore, but I'm expected to be home every Shabbat, and I do go
in college
home.
too.
In college, and now I'm post grad and back in law school, and when I was
There's
working,
something nice about
full
that.
adult person going home every weekend.
Wow.
That is so impressive.
It's so cute.
What's interesting is in terms of the expectations for the women in the Syrian community. What was your reaction? We talk a lot about like our general Jewish sort of modern Orthodox community and all that encompasses on how it affects people's choices in career and going into creative endeavors versus sort of the approved careers of whatever it's real estate, insurance, medicine, law, those kinds of careers that are just presented to you. Like you talked about how there were only certain opportunities put in front of you, so you sort of had to look beyond that or find your way beyond those expectations. So like we talk about the relationship between the Jewish community and the modern Orthodox community to creativity, creative endeavors, jobs outside the box. What's your experience been like in terms of just jobs outside of expected, life choices as a Syrian, Mexican Jew in your community?
I love that. I mean, I picked a very weird career that no one else. I chose activism, which is not. It was not a career until a couple of people decided to make it a career. But yeah, I'd say like for the most part, it was very normal for guys not to really want to go to college, and if they did go to college, a lot of them already knew they were going to work for their family businesses. But their change was just so drastic from one generation to the next. So, for example, my generation, there are only maybe 5 or 6 girls in my entire grade who are not married right now. And most of them are on their first or second child. The ones that did get married right after high school or a couple of years after high school. Some of them started their college education. I think that maybe also there were only like 5 or 6 of us that went to college out of state and dormed, like maybe even less than 6 of us. My little sister's grade, every single girl went to college. I think they had maybe 3 that didn't, and that's because they went to Israel. And the colleges that they're going to are very different, right? So I went to NYU, and I was like, Adela went to NYU, right? My sister went to Princeton.
Can I ask what year you graduated high school?
Yes, I graduated high school in 2015. My sister graduated in 2020.
Cool, so within 5 years.
Within 5 years.
Exponential cultural shift.
Like suddenly you have girls going to Princeton. Like in my year, that was unheard of, right? Not that every girl's going to Princeton. My sister is very unique if she's listening. She is. She's phenomenal. But it's like girls want to get
just the
educated.
radar shifted.
The radar, completely. And it's not even just with the girls. It's like now every single guy. Like if a guy isn't going to college, that's like weird. It's like, why aren't you going to college?
Is that social media? Like what happened in those 5 years?
It's a great question. I have no idea. I think a lot of it's also like we use the term a lot, education inflation. I feel like nowadays like you just need it's like guys don't really know how to start their life right after high school. Like if you told
it's a way to grow up, the prolonged growing up.
Yeah.
Like grow up and incubate a little longer.
That's what I think it is personally, especially like I was the biggest proponent because again, when I was going to college was like I was still on the cusp of like, do people go to college or not in this community? Or at least for the girls. And especially in out-of-state college and dorming. Like that's the thing. Like a lot of girls go into our local college or to maybe Rutgers, which is like 45 minutes away. But like to decide to go to another state, live in a dorm, that was just not really something a lot of people did. And I think really what changed was, number one, education inflation. And I used to be like, again, like everyone should go to college. Every single person I was having the time of my life. I was learning so much. I was loving my classes. I was meeting people who weren't Syrian Jews. I was meeting non-Syrian Jews, and I was also meeting non-Jews. Like that was like, what? It was crazy. I had the best time. And then suddenly,
Long Island Jews, 5 towns.
Island Jews, 5 towns.
Disgusting.
Englewood, Teaneck.
Ooh, you got Teaneck exposure.
Tenafly.
Lucky you.
Livingston. So many people.
You went from Hillel to
yeah.
wow. Hillel Jews. That's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
The Hillel, like the conservative reform Hillel Jew, is a whole different thing.
Oh, you mean like Hillel in colleges?
Like Hillel in colleges.
Yeah.
You know, the curly-haired guy
yeah.
with the button all the way up to
Is
here.
Yeah,
Hillel's
very
the
different.
name of
Hi.
Yeah, hi. Yeah.
That guy.
Very different.
And his friend in engineering.
Yeah.
Like those people.
Very different.
That was the first time I met that too. I was like,
Right.
you know, you go to Hillel that first round, you're like,
There's like a smell. There's a body odor issue.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
But it's funny because it's like that on Hillel's across the board. Like that's not just
No, it's a
that's across the
universal
board.
Hillel.
That's so funny.
Yeah, that's their brand.
Yeah.
It's a thing. You could just like, you know, everyone, you say that's the experience, and there's confident nerds, you know. It's
Hillel.
a weird thing.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder what we could do. There was a guy in college who used to say, well, my friend, if we got together with me, perhaps we could do something. He had like a speech impediment, and he did
it.
He's like, hello, Harold, would you like to come to my dorm and do an experiment? And I'm like, and he just walked around. You know, he wasn't a shy nerd. He was like, I'm proud. Nobody's, and good.
I saw a Venn diagram. I forgot who put it out.
It's weird. It's interesting. Good for them.
There was a Venn diagram for like dork, nerd, and like what was the last one? Geek.
Yeah.
You've seen that?
I didn't see it. No, I'm just.
But it was something like
meme.
along
connoisseur.
like smart, obsessed with something, social skills. I think that those were like the things in the middle.
Right.
And they had some weird Venn diagram. I can't remember what it was, but like someone was saying like how like a geek is like not smart. They're just obsessed with something and has no social skills.
And geek can apply to anybody. Everyone gets geeky about certain things. Like getting geeky is like getting obsessed.
Yeah, but you're not a geek.
You're not a geek. Yeah.
I don't know. I had a whole.
Let's
phase.
geek out. I mean, you know,
like
nerd
I was really
has
into
maybe
Pokemon
physical
Go.
ailments a little, like a really like nerd lacks physical strength. I don't know.
So I think that they said that nerd was
We're
lack
being so
social
ableist.
skills and smart. Like lack social skills, smart, you're a nerd. And then the last one I think was like obsessed with something and smart, and that would make you a dork.
Yes, the combos put you in categories.
Like a nerd could be hot though, like Seth Cohen from the OC. Is that a really bad? Is that a really old
Seth
reference?
Cohen sounds Jewish. Is he single?
Yeah, Seth Cohen is that.
Was he Jewish in the show?
You dated us. That show lasted like 3 years in the spotlight.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. The OC, remember that?
California. You don't know that show, The OC?
I've heard of it. I never watched
boy.
Younger than us.
I thought you were going to say she's Mexican.
Michael and I are 48 and 52.
I assume everyone's older than me still. That's how I
was
operate.
younger.
Yeah, I
She's
mean,
currently in law school.
I am currently in law school.
And we are not.
No.
We are older.
it
but not
would
much.
be weird if we went to law school now, probably.
No. I took 2 years off, and actually most of my friends are older students.
We would have to go to night school, I think.
No, you'd be surprised that there's parents. There's this one guy who like used to like be in like bartending for like 30 years, and now he's like, no, I want to be a lawyer. I'm like, do it. There's one girl who has like a full master's and a PhD, couldn't get a job in academia. She's like, I guess I'm going to go into law. Like there's a lot of interesting people in law school.
I think I'll do the mature thing and in my mid-30s and just make silly videos on Instagram. I think that's what I need to focus on.
I guess
to
I'll just be a content creator.
That's what I was saying before. Education inflation.
Yeah.
Now that I'm looking back, not everyone needed to go to college. And actually, if
I
my
know.
kid told me that their passion was going to be something outside of like the regimen of like what college can actually get you ready for, I would be like, don't go to college, save the money, take a training program. I spoke to someone, a hiring executive, I forgot in what company, he does marketing.
Yeah.
And he said that there's marketing courses that are a year long, that if he sees that on a resume, he immediately wants to hire them. And he goes, actually, if they took a 2-year course in marketing, like course in marketing of this training seminar, as opposed to a 4-year college, he'd rather hire that kid.
Right.